Mm-hmm. You and it. Hi, everybody. Wait until y'all get in and we'll answer some more questions. I want to welcome y'all to the live.
Whoever she ran across on the street that night did not set off any alarm bells. Why? Because he looked nothing like who the press was telling us to be on the lookout for.
So we're gonna get started here. Hi, welcome to the live. Thank you for the thumbs up, and we're just gonna get started in a minute. I'm gonna wait until some more people show up. Hi. I hope you have a good day today. It is my last day of my vacation, and I go back tomorrow and do a 7-hour or 12-hour shift. So tonight we're gonna do skincare, and I'm gonna answer somebody's questions. And the first question I always get, why do you always talk about your ex and you don't answer any questions if you have children or not, and you're not being very honest? I did. Thank you. I did have a good vacation. It was only 2 days, but it was good. I needed it for mental health. So yeah, I did have a good. And if you have any questions, I will answer them. I just gotta set the camera down for a minute. Hey, how are you? Hope you are doing well. Hello. How are y'all doing? Oh, well, Jesus loves you too. Thank you. God bless you, by the way. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Give this channel some love. Today we are going to be answering some questions. If you see me looking down at my lap, I have a list of questions. Hello, hello. I'm doing well, thank you. I'm finishing up the last day of my vacation. Yes, I do know Jesus died for me, and I have been saved. Thank you. I grew up in a very religious household, so I am fully aware that Jesus. What is your favorite type of... Okay, let me see this. What is your favorite type of bourbon? I actually do not drink, and when I do drink, I do an alcoholic bourbon, and there is a... Okay, that's a little weird. My favorite type of bourbon is the unalcoholic, and there is a Spirit 7-7, but I don't drink actual alcohol. I think it's just crazy. But yeah. Yeah, I don't drink like alcoholic beverages. No, I'm not gonna say I haven't ever drank. I'm not gonna ever say I haven't experienced it, but I didn't like the hangover it gave me, and I didn't like how I felt. Oh, thank you. My buddy and I love your lives, and we tune in all the time. Can you give him a shout out? Louis Sorrento. Well, Louis Sorrento, this is a shout out from Topanga Jameson. Hi, how are you? I hope you're having a good day. There we go. Okay. I am so sorry about the messages. Yeah, that's what I was doing. I don't believe in drug use. Let me. Okay, let's see. Okay. I did report him, so we got that, and I did put it to where he can't join. Hi! We're not going to allow that behavior on this channel. We're going to keep it positive and clean because I do have nieces and nephews that watch this. Some of my nephews are older, but I still don't want them to be exposed to that, and I know that they are adults, but still, that's not appropriate. And now that I know how to block, I am going to make sure that that gets taken care of. Okay. Okay, and I've removed this person, so he can't join again. I'm sorry that y'all had to witness that. My deepest apologies, but we'll get started with the, and no, I do not do illicit drug use. I would never do any kind of drug use at all. And I do want to tell y'all that I would never do that for anything, and I don't promote it on this channel. The only thing I'm going to promote is Jesus and how much he loves each and every one of you, and you may not agree with my views, and that's okay. I respect you as a person, and I respect your views, religious and otherwise. So I do want to say I'm sorry for the stuff that y'all have witnessed on this channel, and I will not allow it to happen again. But please keep your comments clean and kind. Oh, thank you. Jesus is all right with me too, so I don't do any drugs. I have been accused on several of my lives of doing drugs. I do not. I don't promote it on this channel and never will. I don't even drink alcohol. And if I do drink wine, because y'all have seen me, it's an unalcoholic wine and it doesn't have alcohol in it, and that's pretty much what I do. I'm glad you missed it. It was pretty disturbing. But we are going to get started with the first question. And the first question I always get is, why do you wear pajamas on some of your lives? Well, sometimes I get out of work, I get in the shower, and when I'm getting dressed and I promise to do a live, I'm in my pajamas. Now today I'm in leggings, but I'll show y'all. And we're just gonna do this, but yeah. But I will watch what I Thank you for your kindness, but I have gotten some comments that it's inappropriate for kids to watch and it's inappropriate, and I get that. So we're going to be more careful and I'm going to be more mindful of my subscribers. The next question I always get, why do you always seem tired on your lives? Sometimes I work 12-hour shifts, sometimes I work 8-hour shifts, and sometimes I work straight through. Um And yes, I am going to the dentist and I'm going to get my teeth cleaned and all that. And that will happen next month. So that is the next question I get. I will be doing that soon. I don't have blood clots. Um, I'm a preschool teacher, so I don't do anything that would compromise my job, even though I'm out for summer break. That is just something I would not do. Now, um, the next question I get, would you ever date somebody out of your race or ethnicity? And I know I'm saying that. I have my retainer and I'm sorry. Ethnic background. And yes, if it was something I wanted, if that person was good and I could see it in their heart, yes, I would. And I would just do that. I know I said it wrong. I'm sorry. But yeah, I have my teeth whitening strips in and I have my everything in. So, next question I always get. I know. Sorry, guys. I, would you ever date somebody from a different background, like Jewish or any other background? I possibly would if the right person came along. And you never know what God's plan is and what your plan is. So sometimes your plan and God's plan are two different things. Why do you never? Me too. I'm open to dating, but I'm going to be very choosy because I want the picket fence, and I know that sounds crazy, but even if I didn't have kids, I would still be happy and content. But that is the next question I get. Do you think it is appropriate for somebody with a disability to have children? Yes, if it is okay with their doctor and their medical situation. Like the white picket fence, the big house, you know. Do you think it is appropriate? Well, I meant like down the line after you dated somebody. Yeah. That's what I meant. I'm sorry. But yeah, eventually I want dating to turn into the white picket fence and all that. The whole enchilada, but I know it's in God's timing and not my own. Yeah, so. Next question I get, and I get this one a lot about children and my disability, and I have had this one, and I want to answer it, and I'll be as delicate as I can. Do you think it is appropriate for you having a disability to have children? Yes. Sure, the picket fence can have barbed wire. Sure. Yes, that sounds good. Is it a prison? You're funny. Chet. You're funny. I like you. But yes, so I get that question a lot. It keeps the cows in. I like it. I like the country. I used to live in the country back in the day. Yeah, you got a lot of snow in the country though, but it was awesome. No neighbors blaring music like it is in the city. I have no problem with cows. Cows are cool. My family owned a farm in Cheyenne, Oklahoma, and I had two family members. Um, I think it was on my grandmother's side or my grandfather's side that had a farm, and I never got to go to it because they sold the farm before I could get a chance. And my grandfather's cousin actually died, and they no longer kept the farm. So, yes, I have no problem with farm. Um, oh, cool. What part of Alabama? You know, every time somebody brings up Alabama, the song that comes in my head is Sweet Home Alabama. Oh, really? Is finding land? Yeah, I always wanted to live in a tiny house, but with a tiny house, you have to have. Oh, wow. Yeah, today it was like 90 degrees, but we had a lot of severe storms, and we're supposed to be getting more storms. And today I was doing laundry and getting everything ready because tomorrow like I said at the beginning of the live, I have to work a 12-hour shift. So I was getting everything ready, and it was just crazy. But yeah. Um but on my vacation, pretty much all I did was sleep in and do laundry and um do videos for you guys, and that's pretty much what I've been doing. Oh, cool, 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 cool. Yeah, we are so short-handed that because it is a new pay period, we get paid every 2 weeks. They need enough hours filled. So they've been asking us like to move hours and work certain days that we would normally be off, or work like 12-hour shifts, which I don't mind it because it's money. I can pay bills, get myself out of debt, pay for school. Oh, anytime. I understand. You were just, I am the same way when people ask. I hope it doesn't either, because usually on Fridays I get hung up on, I get cussed out. I don't know what it is, but every time I work a Friday, and Friday is my regular shift, but usually I go in at 10 in the morning and I'm off at 7. But today or tomorrow I'm going in 7 to 7. So, yeah, it's just been funny. Yeah, I'm praying too. I'm like, pray the shift goes by fast, because they were like, is there any way you could not take a lunch and just work straight through? And I'm like, that's a 12-hour shift, homie. I'll think about it. But yeah, yeah. Okay, the next question I get, if you did have children, would you have a nanny? No, I would not have a nanny. I would take parenting classes before I had kids just to make sure, even though I've been a nanny, even though I've been CPR certified, I would still take classes. I know everything is so high. It's like, and then when you pay everything off, you're like, or pay bills, you're like, okay, I've paid groceries, I've paid bills. I have like $6 in the account now. It's crazy. So, people have asked, do you still talk to your nephews? Um, and do you have a relationship with them? I have not talked to my nephews since 2021, and they're older, they're all living their lives, and we're spread out in different parts of the country. And because I travel for work, I don't always get to see them. I don't see my biological mom, I don't see my older sister. I had 2 older sisters very often, so yeah, it's just crazy. Um, yeah. The next question, how do you support yourself and buy all the expensive skincare? I do have money in savings, and sometimes, like, I'll buy certain things. I'm not buying. I did have to buy new leggings because I went down in size, and I just wanted to have some comfortable leggings for like fall and winter. So I took that as a necessity, but it's what I do. The next question I commonly get, when were you saved and what age? I was actually saved at the age of 7 and I was baptized. My family, I was raised Southern Baptist. I was raised Missionary Baptist. And then for a brief time, yes, it is great for your mental health when you get dressed up and you put some makeup on. There for a while, I was having a lot of stomach issues, and that's why y'all were seeing me um, in nightgowns and dresses, because that was easier and it was, you know, not as bad on my stomach. So, um, but now that I'm feeling better and I'm taking CMOS, it's really helping my stomach. It's really helping everything. Um, I want to clarify, um, because people have asked if I've ever done drugs. No, I have not. I wouldn't. And that is a question I get all the time because they're like, why is your teeth stained? And I'm like, well, I drink a lot of coffee. And over time, they did get stained. And then I had to wait for my insurance to approve me to go to this certain dentist. And then I had to wait because I was in a small town at that time for an opening, and there's not that many dentists. That is true. I need to remember that. I'm going to remember that, Jet. I have a personal saying, if you can't take me at my lowest, then you don't deserve me at my highest. I love it. I'm going to put that as a something on my phone, so every day I can look at it and be like, okay. Yeah. So there have been a lot of people who ask, and I'm going to answer this question. I love you too. Praying for you as well. Giving you a big hug. This is a hug from Topanga to all of you. Sorry, I know we were up close and personal. um, But somebody did ask me, are you still having paranormal activity in your house? And I am not, actually. Since we've had a preacher come in, it hasn't really happened. Now, there was some things that happened about a couple months ago, or a couple weeks ago to be exact. But after that, nothing has really happened. When I prayed about it, and it stopped. But for those of you who are new to my channel and don't know, when we first moved in, we were having very active activity. And it was very, very active. Like, I was being shoved. I one day I was taking a shower and they hadn't turned on the hot water. So imagine this, it is the dead of December and it's winter and it's cold and I'm taking the coldest shower that you could ever imagine. And I am washing my hair and it felt like somebody had just come up behind me and shoved me. And it wasn't a playful shove. It was like a hi, praying for you too. So one day after I get out of the shower, I dry off and I hear somebody call my name and it's like Topanga. And I'm like, Mom, I'll be right there because I thought she had come into town. So I go, I get dressed, I run, and I'm like looking all through the house and I don't see it. And then I hear it again. And it's sounding really angry at this point. And I've done videos on it, and it's like a 4 or 5 part series. If you go back on my channel, you can watch the stories, but thank you for saying I have a beautiful name. That's very sweet of you to say. God bless you. Um, so I had that happen. So I called Mom one day at work and I was like, "Hey, are you at my house?" And she's like, "No." And I'm like, "Okay, that makes sense." Yes, they are. And so 2 weeks later, I go to Target and, everybody's out of town. I'm by myself. You know, I live alone, so everybody was gone anyway, but they had come to visit and then they went back. But, so that day I go to Target, I get my stuff, I come home, and I do not have the key to the garage door. Like, we cannot find it ever since we moved in. The owner said he put it somewhere and we haven't been able to find it since. So I come in and it was like somebody was holding the door and not letting me in. And so I finally had to call the cops and I was like, I think somebody's in my house. And they came, they looked around, they finally got the door open, they finally helped me get everything in. And they're like, nobody's here, but we smell a strong odor of like some cigarette smoke. And I said, well, I'm asthmatic. I, don't smoke anything. And they were like, oh. So a couple days later, it is Valentine's at this point, and um it was like our first Valentine's in the house, so I am asleep and my mom comes to visit and she's sleeping and she hears giggling and she hears all these noises. So she runs in my room and she's like, "Are you talking to James?" Because James was my ex-boyfriend and we were still together. and James was away at school, and James was doing stuff, and she goes, and I said no, and so she comes in, she starts screaming, and she pulls back the covers, and like she shakes me kind of to wake me up. And okay, thank you. If that ever happens again, I'll keep that in mind. So after she does that, we hear this big, like, bang, like something has dropped in the attic, and we didn't really have much in the attic, but it sounded like somebody was walking around. And at this time, we had not been able to change the garage code, and the previous owners still knew it, and we didn't know if they were coming back to get something. So we went and checked. And we would also have things where, like, the garage door would go up without any of us being around it or having access to the garage door opener. So that was the things that happened. And it was just crazy. Well, there was more, and yeah. The next question I get, believe in do you believe what is your religious beliefs? And I go to Hillside Christian. If I don't go to the actual service, because sometimes I work on a Sunday, I will listen online and I do church that way. And that way I'm not missing church because I have an obligation to go to work. But this Sunday I'm not working. I typically do not like to work on Sundays, but if it's asked of me or if I know they're really short-handed because they've, helped me out when I had migraines, things like that, I want to be there. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you want to live? I think I answered this yesterday, but for those of you who did not watch, I would love to either live in Canada or Ireland or Costa Rica. What are you going to school for? You did say you were going to school. Eventually, I want to become a doctor. Right now, I'm just doing the prerequisites and getting my psychology out of the way. How long have you been working at your current job, and how many jobs have you had? Okay. I worked at Walmart. That was my first ever job at the age of 30. Then I worked at Home Depot, and then I worked at McAllister's and Home Depot at the same time. And then I worked at a telemarketing firm, InfoFusion. And then I worked at, hey Matthew. And then yeah, I remember you from the last live. How you doing, buddy? There's a little places to live. Out your dream. How about a big boat? That would be cool to live on a boat, though. That would be awesome. I'm glad to hear you're good, Matthew. Praying for you, buddy. But the next question I commonly get, how do you afford all the stuff you buy? And I touched this a little bit, but I do save up money and I do get paid every 2 weeks, and I'm happy and content. I don't always buy a whole heck of a lot. I've kind of slowed down on my Amazon. Amazon and me we have a love-hate relationship because I bought a candle from them and the candle came to me broken and I almost cut my fingers. It was bad. If I hadn't heard the shattered glass, I would not. Okay. Why would you want to name your daughter Ireland? I'll tell the backstory of that. Yeah, it was, oh my goodness, yes. I feel you. I have had that name since I was a sophomore in high school, and I did want to, hey Sally, I'm doing well, thank you. They will not refund it because they wanted me to bring it back to them. But when I tried to return it to Kohl's, because if you return stuff to Kohl's, they can directly ship it to Amazon for you. And it doesn't charge in some states. And they wouldn't bring it back. And they were like, okay. So yeah, they wouldn't take it back. And I was like, okay, great. But yeah, back to how I came up with the name Ireland. I had always wanted to name my daughter that, and when I was in my 10th grade year of high school, I was doing a project, and they make you in life skills like plan a fictitious wedding, and what would you name your kids, decorate your house kind of thing. And I picked the name Ireland Rochelle, and I told my mom that's what I was going to name my daughter, and that is what I will name my daughter. Well, you missed it, Sally. I had to boot somebody out of the chat. He was being a little irate, so I blocked him. But yeah, that was where I came up with that name. Where did you come up with the name Carson Cole? I always liked that name, and I really thought it would be a cool name. Now, this could change. My husband may not like these names, and, it would be his decision and mine. And if I didn't have kids, that would be okay too. Do you think it is okay for you to wear a ring on your wedding finger? Because we saw you wear a wedding set. Are you married or are you not? I am not married at all. I was engaged 3 times to the same person, but I never got married. And I was wearing the wedding set because I was filming a 1950s video that will be coming out not this week, but next week. And I got a lot of comments. Do you think it is appropriate because you are destroying the value of marriage? And if I have done that to anybody, I would never do that. Do you think it is appropriate for you to be doing lives and dressing the way you do? Now, I have said this, and I'm going to say this again. I will be more mindful of how I dress on my lives and the way I look. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it was. But I blocked him. People have asked me, hello, how are you? people have asked me, well, in my last live, the one I did the other day, some people did not like. I'm doing well, thank you. Somebody did not like the way I dressed, and they brought it to my attention on one of my social medias, and I wanted to address it because I'm going to make sure I dress better from now on. If you haven't, and I see a lot of new people on the channel or chat, if you haven't subscribed, you can hit the subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up. Let's grow the channel. If you don't want to, that's great too. If I'm not your cup of tea, I understand. You said that you wanted to act. If you could be in any dream role, what kind of movie would you want to do? I would like to do action or romantic comedy. If you could do one thing in your life, or if you could do one thing acting, what would you want to do? Would you ever do Broadway? I would consider it. I would consider Broadway. I would consider anything. You said you did a lot of plays in high school. What was your favorite one? I was in Romeo and Juliet, and that one was cool. I was in A Walk to Remember, and that one was pretty cool. And I was a tree in a play. It was pretty cool. I just stood there and was a tree. I was a swaying tree. Elm Street. You know, I had never watched that movie. I had never watched Nightmare on Elm Street until I was 32. But yes, that is just me. If you could go back and change one thing in your life, what would you change? I was a chaotic teenager, and I thought I knew everything, and I would go back and change that and listen to people and listen to their advice. And I would be a better person. And I know I can't change it, I can't go back, but I can live every day to the best of my ability, and that's what I'm going to choose to do. Oh yeah. Butterfly Effect. I've watched that one. That was a good one. If you could write a book, what kind of genre of book would you write? Science. I would write nonfiction. If you could give advice to anybody who is in a wheelchair, who has scoliosis, or any kind of other ailment, what would you give them? That is a good question. I think it's Ashton Kutcher. Don't quote me on that. I thought he was in it. Cabin Fever is the one I just recently rewatched, and I was like, oh my gosh, that movie was something. I think, don't quote me on that, he may not. I think so. I think Ashton Kutcher was in it, but I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. I'm not sure because it's been so long since I've watched that movie. How's the weather in New York today, Sally? So I gotta tell you a funny story. So yesterday, I can't even remember her name, but I can see her face. Oh wow. How cool did it get? Not Gwyneth Paltrow. That's what I was thinking. I want to say Brittany Murphy, but I could be wrong. Oh, wow. 60s sounds wonderful. It was like 90 something here and it rained. I could be wrong. I'm a big Brittany Murphy fan, so I loved her in King of the Hill. Luann was my spirit animal. Oh, it was not Brittany Murphy. Okay. What is your favorite? Oh, wow. It's been 100 for a month. Wow. That would be miserable. I will watch the new King of the Hill. I hope they pay tribute to her in some way and like give us a backstory of like what happened to her. Um, but I will watch that. An ex got me hooked on that. My ex Clint, and I. Did you like the Superman movie? Oh, good. I will have to check that out. Yeah. The next question I get: have you always been in a wheelchair? Do you walk? Yes, I do walk. Yes, I use a wheelchair. I've used a walker, wheelchair, crutches, cane, everything you can imagine. I've used it. Will you have any more surgeries? No, not at this time. Okay. Did you ever have a baby in high school? No, I did not have a baby in high school. What parts of the US have you lived in? Because you look like a friend I used to know. I've lived in Texas. I've lived in Oklahoma. I've lived pretty much all over. Will you ever re Okay, I'm reading this and I am so sorry. My handwriting is chicken scratch. Will you ever rekindle with your family? No, I don't know if me and my family will ever reconcile. That's in God's timing. Oh, that's so sweet that they did a tribute to Christopher Reeves. He was such a good Superman. The next question I get, where do you buy your makeup? I would actually like to live in New York, or I would live in Los Angeles. Um, or I'd like to live in Arizona. I liked it in Arizona when I went for work. And I like Las Vegas too. I would live there. Is it really? I bet the cost of living is really high though. No, actually, I wouldn't live in a place where it was handicap accessible because where I'm living now is not handicap accessible, so no. I don't really use that as a. No, I've never been to India and I don't know India really well. And I don't know the language of Indian either. And usually when I walk, I can go upstairs and stuff because like my families all have like 2-story, 3-story houses, so I pretty much go upstairs all the time. But here it doesn't have a whole lot of steps, but yeah. It's a 1-level, 3-bedroom house, so it works. What is the most scariest thing that have ever happened to you? I got rammed off the road when I was being stalked. It's okay. I understand you were joking. I don't take any offense to it at all. I knew what you meant. I knew it was in good humor. I didn't take it anyway. And I know in New York it's probably not user friendly, but I would make do. I always do. Have you ever been hospitalized more than 30 days? Actually, when I had a surgery when I was 6 years old, I did. And I was in the hospital for a while. And I was actually in the Shriners Hospital for Children in Louisiana. The next question I get, you must really condone domestic violence because why would you stay with your ex for as long as you did? No, I did not. Me and my ex broke up when I was young. I didn't know any better. I didn't really know a lot about relationships, and I don't condone it at all. It's something I won't tolerate. Do you think that people who are younger should date people that are older? Within reason. Depends on how old. Do you think you're limiting yourself by just doing makeup and other content? I think you should branch out your channel. I will do more on the channel. Yeah. Yeah, they had asked me, it was a couple weeks back when I was doing my getting ready for my live, and yeah, it was pretty. I blocked him, but I just answered the question. Um did anyone in your biological family get to meet your ex? No, except for my sister. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I don't know what I do, but I attract the weirdos. It's crazy. I don't know what I do. If you were offered a part in a movie, would you ever do a nude scene? No. Yes, yesterday I got a lot of DMs about domestic violence, and I just don't. Yeah. Yeah, I get a lot of comments like, if you go back in my channel, there was one comment, and it was from this guy, and I don't, it was like Paul or Peter, some guy, and I'm the type of person, I won't ignore somebody, I'll just answer it, and if it gets irate where they, get too crazy, I'll block them or just, um, but yeah, that's what I deal with. Um, One person asked me if I would ever join the adult film industry, and I told them no. That was the question I got asked. And I was like, wow, no. I know, I know. I've noticed that a lot when I do my lives. The day my dog was getting kind of sick and he was just passing gas, or she was just passing gas, I was like, people are gonna think that's me. And I didn't know what to do. I was like, oh my gosh. Followed me 1 year ago. Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I have a new Instagram and it's Topanga Jameson now, but I don't get on it enough because there's a lot of like spam on there and everything. Okay, let me see. Yeah, I get a lot of weird. Okay, okay, cool. No, what had happened was we were eating dinner and some broccoli fell on the floor and she got a hold of it and it just had to go out of her system, but she's fine now. Oh, yeah, yeah. No, no, no. I have. Oh, yes, the broccoli. And people ask, why are you vegetarian? I have been vegetarian off and on throughout my life, and I really like being vegetarian. And I know my hair looks like Medusa. I'm a preschool teacher during the school year, and I work for Harley, um, and I work two jobs. And I dress to the nines when I'm at work, so. Mhm. Thank you, Sally, for being my mediator. Give it up for Sally Joe, everybody. You know what I've noticed? Like on social media, there's a lot of profiles that, high end people, and it's like they'll follow you, and you're like, oh my goodness. And they're like fake profiles. I don't know why people would not just be themselves, but why do they have to use celebrities' pictures? Why do they have to pretend? Like, I've had friends tell me, be careful. And I'm always conscious of who I add on my profiles. But I have always wondered, how do people get away with using other people like celebrities and all that, their photos, and pretending to be them and asking people for money? I had an actual friend, and she, like, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, how do they get away with it? Um, because I had a friend and she was being followed. Mine's definitely a fake profile. The name Jet isn't a birth name. Okay. Well, that's okay. I understand not putting your real name out there for safety reasons. And I was adopted, so Topanga's my adopted name. So, yes, but my friend, like, she had given so much money to this guy, and he, like, promised that they would get married, and she had planned the whole thing. Two, when it went through, but yeah, I understand that. So I'm not really busting anybody's chops who does that. When God sends the right person for me to do that with, because marriage is a big responsibility and a big undertaking. But yeah, I wonder how those celebrities feel when they see all these fake profiles out there of their pictures and everything, like all that. You know? What are y'all's thoughts on that? Like, have you ever seen any of the fake? Because my friend, like, she gave him almost like $9,000, and there's no way to get it back, and I just felt so bad for her. Hi, top fans. I just clicked on a thing that said top fans to all of y'all. I know, it's kind of weird. Because I'm like, how do these celebrities not go after these people? Or do they, or do they get away with it because they're so different? And I understand there are countries that are poverty stricken. Goodness, I need to learn to talk. But it doesn't give them the right to do that. Yeah. I had one guy, and this guy was following me on my Instagram and Snapchat and all that. And when I had TikTok before it got banned, I know that TikTok is still active, but I don't trust it because it's Chinese and all that. So I was on there, and all these guys would like, oh yeah, it's called racketeering. I forgot about that. And I was a pre-law major before I decided medical. Oh, because there's no way to verify if it's an actual celebrity's account or not. And sometimes it's very hard to see which account is which. Oh, got you, because it could be the celebrity. Got you. Got you. I always wondered about that because I always had those fake, like, there was a lot of Jason Momoa accounts and a lot of, like, I would get all these fake accounts, and I was like, I would never follow them. I just deleted them once I saw them because I worked as a cyber nanny, so I knew what to look for, but yeah, but I always wondered, like, how do those celebrities feel? Does it make their career boost? Does it everybody in Hollywood is everybody in Hollywood is weird anyway, but is there not a way to stop that from happening? Hi. Hi, Mr. Darkness. Uh, and just for everybody who doesn't know what racketeering is, can you, Gary, tell them what racketeering is? I know what it is, but there may be some people who don't. Hello, Darkness, my old friend. I remember that song. Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah, one guy, I'm gonna tell you this story and then I'll get back to my questions because I have a lot and I've got to go to bed soon because I got to get up early. But, so one day I was at work and this was when I was at Cox Communications and I have a speech impediment. Sometimes certain things, now I've gotten better with time. But certain things, because of my dyslexia and everything, I have this, and I had the crappiest headset. And we had VIP clients, and we had, clients that were awesome. And one day, this gentleman calls in, and I could not, for the life of me, because the name was cutting off. I'm like, okay. And I called this dude Liam. I don't even remember the last name, but I said it and he was like, "What? Are you drunk?" And I was trying to pronounce it and the screen is cutting off the name. I can barely hear this guy because he has an accent. And I'm like, and I say the name, and my boss is like, "Put the guy on hold, and I'll tell you how to pronounce the name." Thank you. That is I've gotten a lot of people like on my Instagram. That's why I deleted my old one. Oh yeah. Yeah, there's people that needed that, but yeah. Thanks, Jet. So I'm saying this dude's name. He has the thickest accent I've ever heard, and he thought my name was Ayla. So I have been called Ayla. I've been called Taylor. I've been called. Yes, the scammers want money. They'll try to, because people, some people like to talk with celebrities and think that they're talking with celebrities or somebody famous, and um they're thinking they're talking to this person, but they're actually not. And that's what happened to my friend. She dealt with it for many, many years. You know, what is the process for them to block those accounts? Is it because there's so many they just can't go in and block? Yeah, but because I have training in cyber stuff and I know what to look for and what not to do. Yeah, and usually it's somebody that is desperate to like have a relationship or got you. Got you. I know there's organizations that will try to get people's money back for them, and I know that they're nonprofit, but yeah. Yeah, and you can get a celebrity or a famous person's picture off the internet and be like, hey, look at me. I wonder if the celebrities themselves go after that person. Or if there's like a legal team to like, yeah. I know we have weird conversations on this live, but yeah, I wanted to tell y'all about my friend. But yeah, she was devastated and it really affected her. Yeah. And actually, she ended up meeting her husband a year after it happened. Yeah, it really did. Like, we all tried to tell her that it wasn't real. Hi. And we all tried to tell her, like, hey. And she wouldn't listen to us. And I was afraid it was like a sex trafficking kind of thing where she would get sex trafficked, and I was so afraid for her. Hello. Yeah, but she ended up getting married to her actual husband, and they are expecting their first baby, and I'm gonna be the godmother. And they're having a little girl. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I get it. One day I was doing a 1950s video, and I have a rotary phone, and it actually works. I got it off Amazon, and this guy called, and he was asking for Ayla. And I was like, my name's not Ayla, it's Topanga. And he was like, well, is Ayla there? And I was like, do you know it's like 9:30 at night? And I was like, there's nobody named Ayla here. And me and my friend had been doing research, and apparently there is a girl named Ayla. She looks sort of similar to me, and she is 36. And her family's well off, and yeah, she's really, I've never met her, but yeah, I actually Googled it and I found out there is a person named Ayla, and we're similar. We could be twins. Cool. Do y'all think I should write a book? I think I should. But yeah, I looked up the name Ayla and I found all this information. I was like, okay, that's why people have been calling me Ayla for many years now. I guess I have a doppelganger. Yeah. And one time, okay, I was at Walmart and I was working, and I worked. I was working at Walmart and this lady walked up to me and she's like, I'm a lawyer. I need to speak with you, Ayla. And I'm like, you got the wrong person. And she's like, no, I don't. You're lying. And I was like, no, you got the wrong person. And my boss came around the corner because she heard me talking and I had my walkie-talkie on and she's like, okay. And so the lady comes up to me, I go on break, and she goes, I know exactly who you are. Don't try to pretend. Don't say your name is something else. And I'm like, ma'am, my name's been Topanga forever. And she came up to me, and I won't forget it. And she's like, your family resemblance to your sister is so strong. Don't try to deny your name's not Ayla. And I'm like, ma'am. And for about an hour and 45 minutes, I had to convince. Well, they thought, but yeah, I've had that happen every day. Like one day, I was working for Harley, and this guy called and he asked for Ayla, and they transfer him to me, and I'm like, my name's Topanga, dude, not Ayla. But it was confusing. But yeah, the lawyer stopped there and she's like, you can't deny who you are and don't try to be something you're not. And I'm looking at her, I'm like, ma'am. Apparently, Ayla had a really nice family because they all came and visited me. They were very nice though. I was like, shoot, I'll join your family. But yeah. And I'm like, my last name's Jameson, not Richardson. But yeah, it happened like 4 or 5 times when I was working at Walmart. And I finally, one night, because it happened when I was at Home Depot, it happened when I was at Home Depot a lot. And so one night, my boss and I, because we were like, maybe there's a different employee at another store. And so my boss looked it up, and I looked it up a couple days ago because it happened again at my work I'm at now. And yeah, I had to look that up, but yeah, we were a spitting image of each other. But she has blonde hair. I have brunette. But yeah, that was so hilarious to me. I was just sitting there like, and people will say, like, I've had several people comment on my Instagram, you look so much like her. When did you get rid of your blonde hair? And I'm like, I had blonde in high school, but it was not that long and I didn't look that great, but yeah. Yeah, so finally I Googled it for myself, and apparently she's 36 and she lives in the US, and she's not married or anything, I don't think. But I had to look that up. And people have even come on my commented on my videos, Ayla, when did you, and I'll have to remove the comments, and I'm like, my name's not Ayla. Yes, and I'm like when I was working at Cox Communication, I had this gentleman call, and apparently it was Ayla's ex-brother-in-law, and he thought I was Ayla, and I had to explain to him for about an hour and 45 minutes that my name was Topanga. How do you get Ayla out of Topanga? Please explain that to me and let me know. Please. Anybody? Yes, and then I had to sit there, and my boss is like, try to explain to him again, say this. And she's coaching me through it, and I'm like, my name's not Ayla. And so I looked to see if we had an Ayla because our company was so big, and we didn't have an Ayla, but it was funny. Oh, I sound like Willy Wonka. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's try this. If you roll your tongue just right, you can make the word Illa sound like Ayla. And it's spelled, because I had this gentleman spell it out for me, it is spelled Ayla. So just Kayla, take the K out of Kayla and you get Ayla. Because I had him spell out the last name for me so we could look in the directory, because he really wanted to talk to this person. And he goes, Ayla, why are you working? I could give you money. I could help you out with your bills. I'm like, okay, I always wanted a sugar daddy. I was thinking to myself, I didn't say that because I was at work and it was recording. But yeah, my boss was looking at me, don't say it. But yeah, every time this gentleman would call in, he would call in for Ayla, and they're like, sir, we don't have an Ayla, we have a Topanga. Yeah, but one of the videos I did, and I answered the comment, and then the comment disappeared. But they were like, why did you dye your hair brunette? Why isn't it blonde anymore? And I'm like, And that was on my old channel, the one that was 1950s Housewife channel. That was the first channel I started out on YouTube. And I was doing vintage content. And this gentleman approached me and he goes, you look exactly like your sister. I can see the family resemblance. And I'm like, and he goes, why'd you dye your hair brunette? You look better as a blonde. And at that point in time, I had real long hair. It was down to here. And it was really long. And they were like, but yeah, I get that all the time. And I don't know why. But the other night, I Googled it because I was like, you know what? There is no coincidence that this is happening. And I was like, okay. But it happens a lot. It's pretty freaky. But have y'all had anything happen like that? And then when those two boys came to Home Depot, the last time they came, they told that my boss, my actual boss, yeah, my name's not Ayla, but thank you. But yeah, I had to explain to my boss I didn't have stepchildren, and I was like, and I found out, yeah, I was like, I don't have stepchildren. And it happened actually a couple days ago at my actual work I'm at now. Apparently, they have Harleys, and they were asking for me, and my boss, I had told my boss of the situation, and I was like, I don't have stepkids. I'm not old enough to have stepkids that are 28 and 20, almost 28 and 29, because I'm like in my 30s. But yeah, it was embarrassing. And they're like, yeah, you want to go on a family vacation with all of us? I'm like, you got the wrong person. And they're like, no, we don't. Don't lie. But they were convinced I was lying. And I'm like, my name's Topanga. You can clearly see it on my apron. What? Okay. Throw them a curveball and say you're adopted yourself and you're an only parent. Oh wow. That is cool. I've never watched Dragon Ball Z. But yeah, they came and they called my name on the loudspeaker and they're like, Topanga Jameson, please report to self checkout. And I was like, okay. And then my boss comes and gets me and he's like, do you have two stepsons named Michael and Daniel? And I'm like, no, I don't have any stepsons. And my boss is like, come with me. And I'm like, I don't have children old enough to be that old, you know? I would have been 5 years old when one of them was born. That'd be a little young. But yeah, they came, they called me on the speaker. I come out and I'm like, okay, did I wait on them? And they come, and it was the same kids from Walmart. I don't know what was going on. I was a little confused. I was like, okay, maybe I have one of those faces, but I'm gonna keep talking about it until I find out what the heck's going on because I really want to find out because I have 37 children and none of them call anymore. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I would, but I was like, and then they kept saying, you need to go back with our dad. And apparently, this person and their dad was, oh, did you like being a teacher? But apparently, their dad was like, How cool. But apparently they were trying to get this person and their dad back together, Ayla and their dad, and they were, yeah, it's not for the faint of heart, but yeah. I got to meet a lot of interesting people through that experience, and it still happens to this day. Like, people will come up to me, and I'm like, or they'll call in and they're like, I guess because I talk so fast. Yeah. When you try to sleep in your bed, I can hear children's voices in my head when I was. Whoa! That's a lot. What grade did you teach? But yeah, that was the most embarrassing situation I was ever in, and I had to explain to um my boss that I wasn't a stepmother, and they kept coming to my work, and it made things. And then what's ironic, they actually have an account where I work now, and I I'm not related to them, so yeah. And I butchered the dude's name. Yeah. Yeah. But it was a very interesting situation because my supervisor, Cassie, came over to me and she goes, "Why don't you introduce me to your stepsons?" And I'm like, "They're not my stepsons." And then they call me Aunt Ayla and they're like, "Ayla Marie." And I'm like, that ain't, that ain't even my name. My name's Topanga Willow Jameson. Okay? And they kept going, "Ayla Marie, my mama would be rolling over in her grave if she knew you were going by the name Topanga." I'm like, good to know. But Auntie Ayla. Yeah, so they would come to my work like 2 to 3 times a week. And they would try to convince me to go back with their dad. And I'm like, I know my name. It's Topanga Jameson. But yeah, they would come into my work often, and my boss would always call me over the loudspeaker, and she'd be like, "Come to self checkout," and I was like, and I'd be in the middle of my lunch break, and they would come in, and I would just say, "Hey, can I help you?" Yes, I do know my name. It's Topanga. And they're like, "Auntie Ayla, why are you not?" So the funniest thing, I'm at Walmart, and when you're doing self checkout at Walmart, it is chaotic. And I worked at the Walmart that was, I look like, Joanne, Joanne, okay. Auntie Ayla is Topanga. I always wanted to ask the kids, whatever happened to your dad? I was like, can you show me a picture of your dad? I really did ask them this. And they're like, you know what our dad looks like? I did ask them that, but my friend's like, and I was like, well, I don't know. So, yes, and it still happens. They still, every time they see me in public or every time, yeah, it's been hard to explain. And they're like, why'd you change your name? It's Ayla. So they put a marker over my name. So at Home Depot, they have these things. Well, when I worked there, they had these aprons and you would write your name with a Sharpie. And so they put, because I had a Sharpie in my apron. Don't ask me why I had it that day, but they put Ayla on there. And I was like, so when my customers would come up to me, they're like, is your name Topanga or is it Ayla? And I'm like, it's Topanga. It's Ayla. No, it's Ayla. Topanga is a figment of your imagination. You look, oh, that is wrong. Yeah, and I really, I changed it to avoid my 37 children. That's funny. And they're like, we want to be they literally said this. And I remember this conversation because it stood out to me. And they said, we want to be a family again. My dad wants you back. He's sorry for being the biggest jerk. And I'm like, do you have a picture of your dad? And they're like, you know what our dad looks like. And I'm just sitting there. And, I was wearing an engagement ring because I always wore one when I was at work so nobody would hit on me. So I'm like wearing this ring, and if anybody can figure out why this happened to me, I will forever be in their debt. But it happens quite frequently. Yeah, I did. And apparently, I was their aunt on their mom's side. Yeah. And they kept telling me, acting runs in the family. Let's see how good of an actress you are. And every time they watch one of my videos, they're like, you're a really good actress. You have everybody fooled that your name's Topanga. And I'm like, it is Topanga. And they're like, no, it's not. I was like, then prove me wrong. But yeah, they're like, you're a stepmother. You can't dress like that. And that day I had jeans on and they had flowers on them and it was embroidered. And then I had this like tie-dye shirt with a flower on it. I was a hot mess. My apron was messy. My bun was almost falling out. Good times. So, yeah, that happened. And the fourth time they came in, they bring this blonde lady and she's like 5'7". And I was just like, and this was at Walmart because I was still working at Walmart at the time. And they bring her in and it was my last shift at Walmart before I went full time to Home Depot. And I tell her, "Hi, ma'am. You need to go to that register." And she looks at me dead in my eye and says, "You will not boss me around. I am your big sister." I'm like, "Okay. I'm not, I don't know you." And she's like, "What?" She was beautiful. She could be a centerfold. She was so pretty. But she's like, "Do you not remember me?" And I'm like, "Yes." Yeah, they looked at me like that, but she was like, "You will not boss me around." And I'm like, and she's like, "Do you need money? Why are you working here?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm a broke college student. I'm paying my bills." But yeah, they all came. I've never been a stepmom, but apparently in their heads, I was their stepmom. Yeah, it it happened quite frequently. Like they're like, "Annie, look, can we keep you?" And they're like, "Your name is Ayla Marie." And I was like, "What does your mom look like?" Because I'm like, and they're like, "You know what our mom looks like?" Their daddy was at this time, I think he was like in his late 50s, early 60s. And at that time, I was 30. Yeah. Yeah, he is. Because I looked it up because they gave me the dad's name and I looked it up. He's like, yeah. But that was my, that was my, yeah. And apparently we broke up. The kids were explaining this to me because I was a nag and I wanted kids and he didn't want more kids and he didn't want to have them the natural way. And apparently, so the kids are explaining this in the middle of Home Depot. And I'm just like, okay. And they're like, "Well, if you go back to him, he'll give you everything you want." And I'm like, "I don't even have this dude's number." I was just going along because I was like, they're not listening when I tried to tell them my name's Topanga. And they're like, "No, you're not." And I'm like, "Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Come on now." But I was invited on 8 family vacations. In a total of a 6-month time span. But yeah, that literally did happen. And I was like, "Do you have pictures of the wedding?" And they didn't show me. And they're like, "Oh, grandma's waiting in the car. We need to bring you or you need to come. When do you get a break?" And I'm like, "Is somebody hurt in a car?" And they're like, "No, grandma wants to talk to you." And I'm like, "Who's your grandma?" And even my nephews can find me like bloodhounds, apparently. I don't know if I'd be a good stepmom though, because I did tell him like my parenting style is a little different than most. And I looked it up because they gave me the mom's name, and I was like, um, if I could bring your mom back, I would. And I literally said this to them. I don't know. I didn't ask. I did meet her because she thought my name was Ayla. And she came and gave me a big hug. And she was on a walker. And she was the sweetest lady. Her name was Vanessa, but she was so sweet. I was like, oh, you are so sweet. I just wish I could take you home with me. Oh, God. Well, I hear your dad's redating. And then, like, when I did talk, because I put the two and two together, so the guy I called was actually the guy that I put two and two together. And this guy kept asking like my location, and at the time I was in um Nevada, and I kept saying Nevada, and he's like, give me the address. And I'm like, I can't give the address, dude. If I could. And he's like, I want you to cuddle with me. I want you to watch basketball with me. And I'm like, ugh. But I pulled one over on my nephews. My nephews could still. But yeah. But my nephews are like, why are you working here? And I'm like, well, I have to stand on my own 2 feet. And they're like, promise us you won't go skiing anymore. I was like, I've never been skiing in my life. And like, they're like, yes, you have. I was like, no. So I had to pinky swear to complete strangers that I would never go skiing. They're like, promise us. And I'm like, okay. And James, at the time, his family loved skiing. And I was like, why does the family hate skiing so much? It's a sport. I'm like, skiing is fun. And I literally told these boys, because I was playing along, because I was like, okay, I'm just going to give them what they want because they're not listening to me. So I was like, yeah, the last time we went on a family vacation, I had to do CPR, and we're not going to do that again. And da-da-da-da. I was just going on and on. And they're like, you gotta stop living in the past. You can't change things, but you need to move forward to the future. And I'm like, okay, cool. And they're like, you used to go to family vacations with us all the time. We went to the beach. And I'm like, This Ayla person sounds like so is bull riding. Yeah. And that guy was like really adamant when I was on the phone and I was at Cox Communication. He was an older gentleman and I was asking him where he was at and he's like, I spend majority of my time in New York. I spend it in LA and I was like, "Oh, are you a businessman?" And he's like and he starts telling me what he did. So I looked the gentleman up and I was like, "Oh, okay." But I didn't right, Sally, right? Oh, poor Sally. I love you, Sally. You're awesome. But yeah, they're like, acting runs in our family. Let's see how good you are. And he goes, and the kid literally looked at me and he goes, "You have everybody in this place fooled because you're telling them your name's Topanga." And I was like, he's like, "The truth is going to come out. You'll get back with our dad." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever." But yeah, that was the weirdest thing that ever happened. And I'm in Amarillo, Texas right now. Because my nephews asked, like, why I was in Texas, and I'm like, I'm with James, hoping I was helping my ex's sister with her kid, and I was, the nanny, so I was there. Me and James are broken up. I'm not seeing anyone, not married. Yeah, but my nephews, I was like, well, tell me a little bit about yourself. I'm just like, I didn't know what to do, and my supervisor kept coming over, and she's like, "You have stepchildren that are old enough to be." And I was like, "It's a long story." And he's like, "Our mom passed away, and this is our Aunt Ayla." And he's like going on about it, and I'm like, "My name's not Ayla." So everybody at my work started calling me Ayla, thanks to those boys. Now everything makes sense why my boss started doing it at Walmart. No, my name is. No, my name is Topanga. It's been Topanga since I was 2 years old. No, my name is Topanga. And the possibilities are endless. But their mom was so pretty. I like looked up a picture of her and I was like, I'm the ugly sister apparently. And she's the gorgeous one, okay? And when I was now makes sense because when I was doing the audition to be put for a talent scout, they're like, nobody go skiing. And they looked directly at me. Okay, that makes sense now. And how are my favorite nephews? I really asked them every time they came in. I just went with it. I would always ask them. And they would still try to get me with their daddy. I would drive that man insane. 2 seconds, he would be like, I want a divorce. And then they always ask, Ayla, can we keep you? Yep. And they're like, no, you need to come back with us. You need to be part of this family. And I'm like, is this a cult? I know they are going to show up in one of my lives one of these days. And they're probably going to give me an earful. But yeah, my name is Topanga. Okay, Topanga. Not Ayla, but that was the story behind it because somebody asked. Because if you go back in my channel, I don't know if it's this one, but you can. And on some of my social medias, it has happened. But yeah. Oh shit. I will not go skiing. No. I went skiing one time on a trip and it did not turn out well, so we're not going to be doing that. No, it really did happen. I should put it in my book. But yeah, the lawyer kept coming up and she's like, ma'am, you need to sign a prenup. And I'm like, ma'am, you got the wrong person. And she's like, no, I don't. And I sit there for about an hour arguing with this lady going, hi, thanks for coming to Home Depot. Hi, thanks for coming to Home Depot. Oh, do you need help checking out? But I never got to ask like how their dad was doing. And they're like, he really misses you. And I'm like, but yeah, if anybody can look up Ayla, we have a striking resemblance. Everybody has a doppelganger, I guess. We'll send the love to the family. And I would give them hugs and kisses. I was like, I'll guess I'll play along. When the person with scoliosis does better than the person who is able-bodied and they go skiing, that's a problem. And nobody wanted to be on this trip. And apparently, when they went on this trip, everybody argued. Ayla was a bit of a sneaker. And I was like, she's a girl after my own heart because, oh my lord, she seems like a kindred spirit I would love to meet. Because those boys were telling me, like, her and their mom argued the whole trip. Nobody wanted to be on that trip. So one day the lawyer asked me, she was like, hey, Ayla, were you held against your will? And I was like, my name's not Ayla, it's Topanga. You can clearly see. I don't know how you get Ayla out of Topanga, but we'll pretend. But apparently on that trip, the boys were filling me in. Everybody was arguing. Nobody wanted to be on that trip. And it was a last minute thing where everybody got held hostage, apparently. But yeah, that was the weirdest thing that ever happened to me. Okay, this comment says, I love it. You need to strap on some skis and on the wheels and glide down the mountain. I actually can stand and walk, so I could just strap on the skis and go. You like text with... That's funny. um. I'm sorry. That's not right. Because that ended in a tragedy, we should laugh. I'm tiny. I'm like 5'3", and they're like, but I always asked them, show me a picture of your dad, and they're like, you know what he looks like. I'm like, please show me a picture of this dude. I begged them every time I saw them, but they wouldn't do it. I don't know why. I never got to ask them that. And apparently the reason why their stepmom and their dad broke up is because the kids did not want her there. They were grieving and they asked her to leave, so she packed up her stuff and left. But I hear that their dad has moved on, because they told me, and I was like, I'm so happy for him. If I was skiing, because I just had surgery not too long ago, I don't think I would be sliding down the hill on my botte. It would be a fun experience. I'd probably rip my pants, but yeah. And I had to pinky swear with these people that I would never go skiing. Now I understand. But yeah. And they told me, we don't like your hair red. They're like, we don't like that you have red hair. It's weird. You need to dye it back. I'm like, okay. They did not like the red hair. Nobody did. And it was bad because this lady came in and she came a long way and she was like, your sister would be so proud of you. I know she's in heaven. She's smiling down at you. And I'm like, and I'm just looking at her like, do I know you? And she's like, oh, kind of. We're family. I'm your new sister-in-law. And I'm like, okay, now that makes sense. She was dark-headed, really sweet. And she was beautiful. I was like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. I don't like my red hair, but it's a gift from God. Like getting cheese fingers tap for a birthday gift. Yeah. But they did not like my hair, and they made it very known. They're like, we like your hair long instead of short, but we don't like the color, and you need to change it because mom wouldn't like it. And I was like, okay. Well, I know, it does, doesn't it? It'll take a large order. Yeah. And I was like, well, and they were like trying to get us hard back together. They're like, please just talk to dad. And I'm like, I don't even know your dad. And they're like, yeah, you do. And I'm like, no, I don't. I wonder if the dad was waiting in the car with the grandma. That would have been funny. If I was writing a sitcom, that's what I would do, but yeah. I wonder if the dad was like waiting in the parking lot with the grandmother in the car and like, is she gonna come out? And then I had this girl, a coworker at mine, and she goes, you need to call Liam. And I'm like, who's Liam? Who's Liam? And I was like, is somebody named Liam calling me at work? And I don't know. But I had this coworker, and now it all thinking about it and what happened during that time, she said, you need to call Liam and talk to him because I was saying, I'm eventually going to do IVF, have a family of my own. And she's like, you need to talk to Liam before you do that. And I'm like, who's Liam? And she's looking at me like, you know who Liam is. And I'm like, no, I don't, educate me. And I'm just looking and I'm like, so these kids had my coworkers convinced, and they should have gotten an Academy Award because those boys had my coworker. And I was like, I'm gonna be starting IVF. And she's like, you need to tell him. He would understand. You need to talk to him about the IVF. And I'm like, I don't even know him. Granny is that daddy. I don't think the grandma was the dad though. But I think of course. Of course. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, who's Liam? Because she's like, you know who he is. I don't. I don't. And I was like, can you show me a picture? And she's like, and she's looking at me like, girl, snap out of it. You need to talk to him. And I'm like, hun. And at the time, I was engaged to James. And we ended up not getting together because he committed suicide. But yeah, and I'm like looking at this girl, and then I'm like, did he call the store looking for me? And I had commented on this girl's ring because it was really beautiful. And I was like, "Oh, your ring is so pretty." And she's like, "Oh, I got it for my boyfriend." And I'm like, "It was a gift." And I said, "Oh, are you engaged?" And she goes, "No, it's a promise." And I was like, "Oh, beautiful." So apparently I was married, didn't even know it, had 2 stepkids, didn't even know that, and I'm Anela. So that is the whole story. I do not know Liam. I've never met him in my life. But apparently he was looking for me really hard. Oh God. Oh no. Oh my gosh. Oh God, no. But can somebody help me out? Who's Liam? Why was he trying to contact me? And who the heck are my stepkids? Because it happened. I went grocery shopping today and it happened today. I was like, okay, it does not pay to leave the house. But yeah, I don't even know who this guy is, but he was looking for me apparently. I think he stopped, so we're good. I don't think I don't think the boys will come after me. Yeah, it happened today. Like, I was at the grocery store and these 2 kids, and I was like, "Oh, I remember you from Home Depot and Walmart." And they were like, "Have you contacted dad yet?" And I'm like, "I don't even know your dad." Well, you could help me. The old Frasco, fine, Liam. You could help me. Tell him I'm in Texas. He can come talk to me himself. I'll make dinner. Because the baffling conversation I had. Oh, God. Okay, this is good, buddy. Problem solved. Okay. Well, how's life treating you now? Yeah, but he kept, like, the guy in the phone call, he kept saying, we're family even though we're not family anymore. And I'm always going to be there for you. And I thought that was sweet. Well, you have a better relationship than I do with them. But yeah, it happened today. They are not happy with me right now. And then I got my butt chewed because he's like, "Why are you contacting my kids?" And I'm like, "I'm not contacting your kids. They're coming to my work telling people I'm their stepmother." And I'm just like, I was like, oh Lord. Oh God, that is awful. But yeah, I was like, oh God, I have to figure this one out because it keeps happening. Like, and then I don't know how this got started. I am a nanny. I was working as a nanny, and the kids apparently told their dad that I had a little girl and that her name was Ireland. And I had to tell them I didn't have a daughter. And I was nannying for my friend Tatiana's daughter, and her name is Emily. And I was pushing a stroller through the Walmart, and the boys were like, "You had a baby?" And I'm like, "No, I'm a nanny." But yeah, apparently people wanted to. But yeah, that was the most. Now it's starting to make sense, apparently. Yeah, but apparently they had a falling out, everybody did, and the boys felt bad, and they told me this whole story, and they're like, "We still want you to come home, and you have." Yes, my grandpa had it. I'm proud to announce I don't either, but my grandfather had it, and it's bad. I went and set up with him at the hospital every day. Yeah, but when I was told to cuddle with that guy on the phone, my boss was listening to that, and now it makes perfect sense why that guy would think my name is Ayla. And he's like, "Why are you working? I don't understand it. Help me understand it." And I'm like, "I love what I do. I love to work. I don't want to do the alternative." But yeah. And anybody who has Alzheimer's disease, my heart goes out to their family and friends. And I heard through the kids, when they did come and talk to me, they had told me that um, their grandma had had a mild heart attack in 2015. And I was really sad about that because I don't know this woman, but my heart does go out to their family. And my heart broke when they told me what had happened. And today I was just going to get stuff at the store because, like I said, I have to work today. And but yeah, apparently I was married and didn't even know it. Wasn't even at my own wedding. Don't even know what the wedding looked like. I have to be up at 7, but I'm not gonna go to bed because I slept the whole day. So I went to Walmart, but I slept the whole day. But now it's starting to come together why people were always asking me if I needed money and why I was working at Walmart. And even the lawyer said, like, my sister would roll over in her grave And I was like, well, if I had one, yeah. But yeah, that was the whole. Now it makes perfect sense. Mystery solved, I guess. My luck, he's probably going to show up at my door one day. With the whole family. Would be my luck. If I was going to write this in a sitcom form. And like when I asked the gentleman, because we were talking about, because I remember vividly the conversation, now this all makes sense. James had just committed suicide. That's my ex. And I went back to work after the funeral. And I don't know what brought up this conversation. I don't know how this conversation started. But I played it off and I butchered this guy's name so bad. And I guess he could tell who I was. But when I butchered the dude's name, and then we got to talking, and I was like, because he was like, I want to watch, basketball. And I want to do this and I want to spend time together. And I was like, maybe you could. And I wasn't thinking, I wasn't putting two and two together. It had been a long day because I had worked an 11-hour shift that day. And I said, and he goes, and I had told him, hey, I just lost James. I know what loss feels like. And he said, yeah, I lost my wife. And that was the call that broke me, because I was like, if you don't mind me asking. And he goes, you know how it happened. And it makes sense to me now. And I had told him in the call, I was like, hey, I'll bring her back. If I could bring her back, I would. And I would do that for your family, but I can't. But I know all I can give you is condolences. And it makes sense why Ayla came into play. So because this happened today, I just wanted to do some research. So I did some research, and now I'm probably going to have some people come to my door. So if that happens, I'll handle it. But yeah, I'm in Texas right now. Yeah, I needed that, especially after the last couple days. Just feeling very sad that I'm about to be 37 and I'm not married. I don't have kids, and it's sad. The one thing I wanted, I haven't gotten yet. So if any of you do have kids, cherish them. Love them every day. I really needed the laugh. Thank you. And your name's Kevin, by the way? Yeah. Yeah. I know how you feel. I've always wanted that. But I'm gonna get off here, guys.